Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Before starting the video, special thanks to Darren Phillips €2 and Wayne Heemans 5CA. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 316 based on novel. So let's start. Mosha body told the knight from another race standing beside the five-colored pool. I don't intend to take the space heart by force, and I don't want to die, either. But how can I be sure you're not going to kill me? The knight's faces were a bit twisted. Suddenly, it said, we can form an adventure team. As long as we're in the same team, we can't kill each other. Otherwise, we will be hunted down by the ancestral god school. Did you forget that my sensor for the world of glory is already broken? Mosha body said. No. Damn it, the knight bellowed in spite of itself. Nothing could work. What could it possibly do? Knight, give me a plan that can guarantee my survival, and I won't say anything to anyone, Mosha body said. I'll even volunteer to guard the space heart until it matures. Mosha body kept talking to the knight while thinking about his internal world. The life crystal and the space heart. One was small while the other was huge. One had the energy of a peak sector lord while the other was powerful enough to be the core of a true treasure. One was only an ordinary creature of the Mosha clan while the other only formed after the five-colored abyss flower absorbed the energy from the land of origin. The energies resonated as they were transferred into the life crystal. These energies were the essence of the space heart, the essence that had been cultivated for a long time, and the root of a core of a true treasure. However, they were now continuously being transferred into the life crystal and growing with each passing second. The life crystal expanded, expanded, and shrank again. Each time, it was fundamentally, radically changed. The root of Mosha body was the life crystal. Normally, one couldn't go further after becoming a peak sector lord unless it became an undying fighter. However, its life crystal kept changing, resulting in a leap of life level, just as Luo Feng practiced the 9-volume manual, which improved both his original Earthling body and the Golden Horned Beast body even after they had reached peak sector lord level. Humans had their own ways to improve their genes, like using blood river crystals. Similarly, Mosha lives had their own ways of improving their genes. However, it was more demanding, and thus more difficult for them to do it. Besides, Mosha creatures were rare in the universe, and the secret to change was only known to the seniors of the Mosha clan. Few supreme beings of the other races knew about it. Like waves crashing against a shoreline, the energies stored in the space heart continued transferring. And as the life crystal transformed, the amount of energy it could hold increased as well. Gradually, after repeated expanding and shrinking, a golden engraving appeared on the life crystal, and slowly, more engravings appeared as if gracefully painted by an artist's practiced hand. The more energies it absorbed, the more engravings came into being. There were already engravings on the life crystal, and the second set was more intricate than the previous set. Mosha body tried to hide his joy, feeling himself evolving. Externally, he was still talking to the universe knight from another race. Okay. How about this, the knight started to say, but it didn't finish the thought. It looked up in shock. Mosha body felt something weird on top of his head. He looked up too and saw the 10,081 space cracks surrounding the space heart suddenly wink out and disappear forever. Said the knight. From a distance, Luo Feng saw the energies in the space heart simmering. It had been stable for hundreds of millions of years, but now it was starting to destabilize after losing most of its energy. It looked deadlier now than before. The space cracks have disappeared? The knight looked at the space heart with energies simmering inside. It must have matured. Finally, it's matured. The space heart is mine now. I don't need to talk with this goddamn air anymore. The knight flew toward the space heart and tried to grab it. The space heart trembled, and a crack showed up on its surface which dazed the knight. He looked at the space heart, stupefied. What's happening? The knight said, staring at the space heart. His knowledge of the space heart was based purely on research. He had never seen a real one other than this one, let alone one that was maturing. He had seen the space cracks disappear, which should have been an indication of its maturity. He was perplexed, but he suspected that a mature space heart wasn't supposed to be this way. More and more cracks appeared on the crystal. No. The knight grew concerned, but he could do nothing about it. Soon, the crystal ball and its 10,081 sections were covered with cracks. And then, energies from the space heart gushed out. It shone upon the entire mountain like a sundae. The knight was bewildered but still had hope. Maybe it is going to die first, before it can be reborn. The energies are so extraordinary that they tremble the very space around us. The space heart is indeed powerful. On the contrary, Mosha body could feel the life crystal in its body morphing, and new engravings were carved on the life crystal more and more rapidly. While the space heart was covered with cracks, a complete and complex set of engravings was already formed on the life crystal. The engravings gave out a golden light. There were two sets of engravings on Mosha body. One set was natural, and the other set was newly formed. Just when the life crystal in Mosha body couldn't evolve any further, and the set of engravings was complete, the energies from the space heart stopped transferring. The last remaining energies gushed out of the space heart. This both perplexed and lifted the spirits of the three-faced knight. "It looks like it has reached its terminal power, and this is its last ray," said the knight joyfully. "The evolution is complete." But Mosha body knew exactly what had happened. He could feel the full weight of the substantial energy had been transferred to him in that short period of time. Mosha body felt transformed, at once with his surroundings. Before, the relationship between Mosha body and the surrounding space was like a fish in a river. Now, he had become a drop of water in an ocean, he had become a part of the space. "I must study into the secret of this body," thought Luo Feng, controlling Mosha body from a distance. "It seems that the space heart is going to crumble." Luo Feng didn't dare to stay longer. "Guard the space heart as long as you want," said Mosha, gazing at the five-colored abyss flower below. "I'll leave you alone now." The three-faced knight had already been guarding the five-colored abyss flower with his undying power, as he was afraid that the air would self-destruct and damage it. However, he stopped caring about it after the cracks disappeared and seemed to mature. Mosha body dove into one of the golden ponds and vanished. The knight from another race was stunned, glancing at the spot where Mosha body had disappeared. He vanished? Right in the middle of the five-colored abyss flower? Did he die or just flee? His information was not as nearly as detailed as Luo Feng's. The knight only knew that the five-colored abyss flower provided energies to the space heart. Little did he know was that it was actually 5 portals. "Whatever," the knight said. "The space heart has already matured." The knight looked at the space heart that was emanating forceful energies with hope. The space heart. It shone so brilliantly. Suddenly, the space heart burst like glass, and the fragments vanished. "What? How? How?" the three-faced knight stammered in disbelief. "How is it possible? How could it break? Surely that air had nothing to do with it." He had been watching him the whole time, and the air hadn't even touched the space heart. "I didn't know a space heart will break," the knight said. Was it because the air dove into the five-colored abyss flower, causing a reaction? The knight looked down at five-colored abyss flower. He couldn't think of any other reason. No, he said sorrowfully. How could this happen? The knight didn't want to believe it. He had been waiting for 3,000 eras for the space heart to mature. During the latest era, he had found that the space heart was formed. Since then, he had come here every day and inspected the mountain to make sure no other great beings would steal it. After all, a space heart was a core ingredient to make an original true treasure, and it was as valuable as some other true treasures. Any true treasure, or any core ingredient to make one, was highly sought after by universe knights. He had been waiting for it for such a long time, but had gotten nothing in the end. "The air did rush into the five-colored abyss flower," said the knight, "but that was after the cracks had already disappeared. The space heart had matured." The knight shook his head. "Why? What caused it to break?" The knight's pain and exasperation were too much. Its 3 faces roared simultaneously. Howl! The forceful undying power burst out of the caves in the mountain, and countless pillars of light erupted outward. The jubilant Mosha body didn't bother to care about the knight's reaction. Swoosh! The instant Mosha body dove into the golden pool, he sensed the distortion in space. He had entered an abysmal passage filled with dominant godly force of gold and leading him rapidly to the land of origin, the ocean of gold laws. Boom! As Mosha body was about to reach the land of origin, an irresistible power from the universe suppressed him and kicked him out of the passage. Mosha body rolled, then stood in the air. He was in a void. In the distance were some irregular astronomical objects, including some giant, desolate meteorites and floating pieces of broken continents. Where am I? Mosha body immediately checked the universe coordinates and was pleasantly surprised when he saw the data. He had been ejected while on his way to the land of origin and had instead arrived at a void only a few light years away from the place that had been breeding the space heart. I'm several light years away from that mysterious place, he said, but luckily, this is close to 9 remoteness space. Ha! Not only did I waste no time, but I actually saved a lot of time. Now, regarding this transformation. Mosha's body was filled with joy. He couldn't wait any longer and began to examine the changes in himself carefully. Even if he could somehow acquire the space heart itself, he still wouldn't have been as exhilarating as he was at this moment. After all, the applications of space heart would have been limited until Luo Feng's strength reached a certain level. But as Mosha's body clenched his fists, the formidable power it produced trembled the void. Break! Mosha's body casually swung his right hand, which formed a claw shape, and tore through the void. Ha ha! This power is mighty, he said. And awesome. Previously, Mosha's body had only had the strength of a pinnacle sector lord. His strength was so weak that he could only fight against official-level undying fighters with the help of his profound law comprehension. I am 100 times more precise than before, Mosha's body said, his eyes bright with excitement. What was the reaction accuracy of a great being? Mosha's body was sure that his strength had reached a stage 100 times stronger than the force of a sector lord. Among the billions of lineages in the universe, even the space beasts from the 12 pinnacle lineages, like the golden horned beast, were only 10 times stronger than the force of a sector lord. Now that Mosha's body had gained power 100 times stronger than that of a sector lord, he had reached the level of an average special organism. The space heart had elevated him to the level of special organism. Of course, such a transformation could be attributed to Mosha's body's life characteristics. The weaker the Mosha body was, the greater the effect the space heart could exert upon him during his transformation. As far as I know, it is complicated to enhance the life gene level, Mosha's body said to himself. Even by using all kinds of treasures, few great beings from the human race can improve 10 times. The same probably applies to the Mosha clan. I can't believe my Mosha body has enhanced 100 times. But perhaps this should come as no surprise. A space heart is, after all, the core of original true treasures. In fact, within the Mosha clan, the great beings on the senior level would use such life gene level enhancing treasures as the space heart to improve themselves. The effects on them, however, were not as pronounced as they were on Luo Feng. Perhaps only a once-in-a-billion-year, incredibly talented sector lord would be eligible to use such treasures. Mosha's body deployed his teleportation. Mosha's body blended into the void and reappeared 60 million miles away. Swish! 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 He kept teleporting himself to different places. Wow! My teleportation doesn't induce changes in space ripples? As soon as Mosha's body stopped, he couldn't help but laugh heartily within the void. World-level teleportation was normally like diving into space ripples rigidly and reappearing in the distance. Other great beings could easily sense the unusual changes of the space ripples. For instance, world levels were easy to be found once they teleported within the ice hell. However, things worked differently for universe knights. With thorough control of space laws, they could blend into space ripples seamlessly without causing any unusual changes. And when they reappeared in the distance, the space ripples would remain as expected. For example, when Luo Feng had stolen the black metal board and the purple knight appeared behind him via teleportation, Luo Feng hadn't been able to notice his presence. A universe knight could teleport over 1,000 light years without causing the slightest fluctuation, whereas world-level teleportation would induce abnormal changes by teleporting 1 light year or so. This was the distinction between the two kinds of teleportation. My teleportation no longer invokes changes in the space ripples, Mosha's body said, delighted. I have never felt so closely connected to space as I do now. I felt like I was integral to space when I was in the central region of the cone-shaped mountain, but that intimate feeling has become clearer as I teleport at this moment. Mosha's body integrated himself entirely into the space ripples and reappeared in the distance. If Mosha's body had been favored by space before, he was now what would be considered a space special organism, who could seamlessly integrate himself into space 10,000 times better than before. The distance of the space ripples that I can sense has also changed, said Mosha's body joyfully. I feel like I can teleport over 100 light years without causing the slightest fluctuations. Ha ha! Mosha's body was exuberant. But he also knew what he had achieved was to be expected, for he had completely absorbed the essence of the space heart, thus becoming an incredible special organism. Special organisms like Silver Eyes were not only enormous in size but had numerous fascinating methods. Let me see the last method, said Mosha's body with a bit of anticipation in his eyes. When the life crystal imprinted the second set of law engravings, Mosha Body realized that he had gained another talent technique. Since he had never exerted this talent technique before and was not clear on its true power, but the talent techniques of special organisms were unique and dominant. If Luo Feng's gene-level transformation, a result of cultivating from the 9-volume manual, could be considered artificial transmutation, then Mosha Body's conversion was more like natural evolution, which fit more comfortably within universe law. No matter how much Luo Feng's earthling deity and the golden horned beast improved themselves, they would not attain another talent technique. But since Mosha Body's life crystal had been imprinted with a set of law engravings, he had gained one more talent technique. "Begin," said Mosha Body, and activated the new set of law engravings inside himself. Instantly, everything within 6,000 miles of Mosha Body was controlled by him. How fascinating it was to have absolute control over the surrounding space. Eyes filled with excitement, Mosha Body said in a low voice, "I am space. Space is me. This is my domain." The moment he deployed this talent technique, a large number of messages sent from the law engravings appeared in his head. This new talent technique was called Domain. "Deity," Mosha Body said. Suddenly, vague golden lights appeared in the void. Amid the golden light stepped a figure. It was Luo Feng in silver armor and silver wings. Mosha Body and Luo Feng looked at each other and smiled. The deity of Luo Feng brought out Jihon Emperor from the world ring. "Greetings, my lords," Jihon Emperor greeted Luo Feng's deity and Mosha Body. Due to the connection of their souls, he felt that both of them were his masters. "Lock down the surrounding space within 1,000,000 miles, Luo Feng's deity commanded. "Yes," Jihon Emperor answered respectfully. As the godly force diffused, the surrounding space locked swiftly. The regular space ripples had paused. "My lord, the space ripples within 1,000,000 miles have been locked," said Jihon Emperor with respect. "Teleportation is prohibited within this range." The deity of Luo Feng looked at his Mosha Body and laughed. Eyes closed, Mosha Body once again enjoyed deploying his newly gained talent technique, Domain. Once he exerted Domain, he could thoroughly dominate the space 6,000 miles around him. Mosha Body revealed a smile. He vanished and reappeared 3,000 miles away. "What?" Jihon Emperor stared at him with surprise. As Mosha Body flickered, he appeared 6,000 miles away. Mosha Body shifted his locations continuously, moving freely, as if the space lockdown didn't exist. "How is he able to teleport?" Jihon Emperor asked, utterly bewildered. The principle of teleportation was to blend into space ripples and reappear in a far-off location via the space ripples. Once space ripples were locked, it meant that no one could teleport. Not even Universe Knights could violate this law. Before using this talent technique, Mosha Body could easily integrate himself into space ripples without causing any fluctuations, but it had been impossible for him to vanish under the circumstances of space lockdown. "This is Domain," said Mosha Body. "In Domain, space is me, and I am space. I am integral to space. By blending into space, I can instantly turn into space anywhere within 6,000 miles, then reappear." Mosha Body was full of joy. It was not teleportation that he had just displayed, but a new, two-step transportation process. Firstly, he turned himself into the space with a range of 6,000 miles. Secondly, he changed himself back into Mosha Body, with the ability to choose any spot within the 6,000-mile range to reappear. Domain was an incredible method that was unrestricted by any lockdown. Within the domain, Mosha Body could be anywhere. "The talent techniques of special organisms are marvelous," mused Luo Feng. "Like the endless reincarnation of silver eyes. Once glared at by his eyes, many great beings would die." Another example is Shuchong Emperor, a unique organism that has even destroyed Universe Knights. His talent techniques must be even more terrifying. Luo Feng nodded. Mosha Body's new talent, Domain, is not a method for striking attacks directly. If he wants to attack, he still needs to rely on law comprehension and creating techniques. But Domain is, indeed, a top-notch method for assassination, escape, and adventure. Tut. With this talent technique, Mosha Body is bound to be an assassin. Mosha Body was not as skilled in attacking as some special organisms like Silver Eye. However, it excelled at assassinating and ambushing. Mosha Body disappeared instantly, becoming a metal sheet within the interlayer of Luo Feng armor. "I can now go anywhere with my Mosha Body," said Luo Feng. The prospect was exhilarating. After all, Mosha Body was almost as good at teleportation as ordinary Universe Knights, and Domain was a technique that couldn't be gained through training. It would have taken me roughly 10 days to arrive at 9 remoteness space before, whereas now I can arrive there in half a day. My Mosha body can teleport 100 light-years away and bypass the dangerous places. Luo Feng waved his hand and took Jihon Emperor back into his world ring. Then he vanished into space. Few dangerous places were 100 light-years long, even in the ancestral God's secret region. Even if there were, Luo Feng could easily dodge them. After half a day, Luo Feng appeared, opened his silver wing, and looked upon the area before him. On the surface, 9 remoteness space looked like a boundless water world. 9 remoteness space, Luo Feng murmured. Hard to imagine that several creatures with universe master level power are living in this 12 light-year diameter region, in addition to the innumerable valuables that have been attracting heirs here for generations. Unfortunately, most of them failed and died. I hope fortune will be with me in my quest for the world tree. Desire and aggression filled Luo Feng's heart. He would have a much brighter future if he could have a world tree as his third body. The technique known as manipulation of time and space, the stabilization of God country, and the enormous godly power, all of which Luo Feng craved. Luo Feng vanished and teleported into 9 remoteness space. It was quiet and dark in the mountainous valley. There were no plants or trees on the mountains, only rocks. The only thing that brightened the mountains was a waterfall flowing all the way from the top of the mountain to the lake. There, the water flowed outward in different directions via babbling creeks and streams. Luo Feng appeared in his silver armor. Finally, I've arrived, Luo Feng said, looked around. He saw the desolate rocks and smiled. It's Rock Island. Although 9 remoteness space was filled with danger, there were some safe places where heirs could land without concern, and Rock Island was one of them. Nobody had ever found any danger on the island, and no one had ever been attacked by the terrifying beings of 9 remoteness space there. Desolation implies safety, he muttered, and there's nothing but water and rocks here. Luo Feng flew up like a flash of silver light. As he flew, he looked down and spotted pieces of broken armor and scattered bodies. Remains of heirs, he whispered. He shook his head and sighed. I presume that the heirs who died here were killed by other heirs. Although Rock Island was the safest place in 9 remoteness space, it did not offer protection against fellow heirs. Heirs killing each other for valuables was common. Luo Feng flew more than 60 million miles. Flying over the tallest mountain, he took in the mesmerizing view from afar. Breathtaking, Luo Feng gasped. He landed and stood on the top of the mountain's peak, surveying the boundless ocean around the island. The water in the ocean was sometimes blue and sometimes purple. Suddenly, it became red, then transparent. As he watched, it turned golden, silver, gray, and blue, in that order. The color was constantly changing, giving it a magical appearance. 9 remoteness ocean, Luo Feng said. 9 remoteness space was mainly a limitless ocean containing islands of varying size. Some aboriginal residents lived on these landforms, and fearsome beings like world trees inhabited others. One island, in particular, was colossal and had been named Tree Island by the heirs. Rock Island was tiny and one of the most commonly visited islands on 9 remoteness ocean. Tree Island was much larger and was ranked among the top 10 largest islands of 9 remoteness ocean. 9 remoteness ocean is enormous but perilous, Luo Feng thought. The islands notwithstanding, even the ocean itself is terrifying. Especially the 9 remoteness whirlpool. Rumor has it that there's almost no way to get out if one becomes trapped in the whirlpool. Luo Feng gazed afar. Based on the coordinates, Tree Island lay in that direction. However, it was too distant to see from here. I need to use my Mosha body again. Luo Feng nodded and smiled. Even if my Mosha body fails, I can breathe it again. Mosha body appeared, and Luo Feng teleported himself, following Mosha body. They crossed 9 remoteness ocean without difficulty and soon reached Tree Island. I'll just wait here. Luo Feng's original body nodded and flew into one of the caves in the mountain. He turned on the micro-detector and hid himself. In the sky, Mosha body stood in the air and stared at the massive island hundreds of millions of miles away. Beautiful, he said. Rock Island is ugly by comparison. What a pity. So magnificent, yet so dangerous. Mosha body squinted to look at the awesome scenery on the island. There were plants and trees of all sorts, and flowers of all colors were blossoming. The view was spectacular. The most eye-catching object was an emerald-colored tree whose crown was a vast, luxurious canopy. Its leaves sparkled like delicately carved jades. It was incredibly vivid and dominated the plants around it. The most powerful world tree, said Mosha Body. A universe night-level special organism that can rival a universe master. There are 9 world trees in total. He is the most powerful one. It was 360 million miles tall, and its crown had a diameter of over 500 million miles. Its crown alone was larger than Rock Island, and together with its glowing, jade-like trunk, it was a sight to behold. 3 undying world trees and 5 sector lord-level world trees, muttered Mosha Body, surveying the 8 world trees that surrounded the most powerful one. The taller ones were at the undying level, and the short ones were at the sector lord level. Even the sector lord level trees were 40 million miles tall, much taller than any other known creatures. There seem to be many typical flowers and grasses on Tree Island, but there are also lots of trees. Mosha Body frowned. The strongest ones are the world trees, but there are also some other undying level trees here. According to my information, some universe night level trees are of different types from the world trees. It's not just the world trees I need to worry about if I land on Tree Island. I need to dodge other trees first. Mosha Body stopped hesitating. He teleported and landed on Tree Island. The world trees were the kings of Tree Island, and many other botanical life forms lived there. Most of the plants on the island were quite ordinary, but a few of them were special organisms. Most of those special organisms could pose a threat to Mosha Body. I can't let them see me or notice me, thought Luo Feng. Mosha Body disguised himself in the facade of a floating cluster of seeds on the wind, like the tuft of a dandelion seed floating in the air. Luo Feng couldn't think of anything safer. A moving plant would have drawn attention, but a seed on the wind would hopefully go unnoticed. Some of the powerful trees were intelligent, especially the undying level ones, and they were not inferior to humans. As such, Luo Feng didn't dare teleport himself directly to the most powerful world tree. Teleporting would certainly draw that world tree's attention. I'll just flutter and flutter until I reach the world tree, he thought. The seed cluster kept fluttering slowly in the air. Too slow. The seed cluster was already approaching the world trees as quickly as possible. He couldn't alter its course or increase its speed without giving himself away. If it flew against the wind or at a different speed, it would be noticed, and there would be no hope after that. I must be patient, Mosha Body told himself. I'm in no rush. As long as I can fly near the world trees, I can just take a leaf. If there are some leaves on the ground, that'll work even better. I'll just take a single leaf. I'm not greedy. The seed cluster kept floating. Tree Island was like the Arcadia of ancient myth, a land of beautiful, unspoiled wilderness. Countless seeds floated in the air, and Mosha Body's seed cluster was inconspicuous among them. But after 3 months of aimless floating, Mosha Body was growing impatient. Gazing at the world tree still so far away, he shouted in his mind, "Too slow." This video will end here.